Welcome to a new video from Platzi English Academy. The topic for this video is ¿Qué son y cómo se usan los conectores en inglés? What are connectors and how to use them in English? So let's find out. Why do you need to use connectors? First of all, connectors help you to link your ideas. Sometimes we say two sentences, but it's possible to connect them using connectors in English, and we are going to find out how to do that today in this video. They also give logic and sequence when you're speaking or writing. Sometimes when you're listening to somebody or reading someone, you feel lost. Why is that? Because they're not using connectors effectively. I relate connectors in this situation with signs on the road. When you're driving, road signs tell you where you are going, and what to expect next. This is exactly what connectors do in a language. And lastly, when you do all this, when you are using connectors effectively, you make yourself more understandable. That is the whole point of learning a language. So let's find out more about what these connectors are and how you can use them. The first kind of connector is logic and sequence connectors. In this video, we are going to talk about three main kinds of connectors. The first one, logic. When you talk about logic, you have first, second, third, finally. All these different kinds of connectors help you to create logic and sequence in your speaking or even writing. You can do that in both. Let's see how this looks in real life. So let's say I'm trying to talk about writing proposals. There are three main things you need to do when writing proposals. First, research the topic. Second, take notes of the important points. And finally, start writing your proposal with all the points. You see how I sequenced my answer. The three things that I'm going to tell you, I told you clearly in the beginning there are three main things you need to focus on. And then I used connectors to tell you the first, second, and the final thing. You can do the same next time you're going to talk about more than one thing in your speaking or writing by using logic and sequence connectors. Let's continue. From logic and sequence, now we are moving on to contrasting connectors. What does that mean? When you're trying to present ideas that are opposite to each other, contrast, you can use contrasting connectors like however, on the other hand, in spite of, even though. Let's see how they look in real life sentences. For example, people loved the new movie. However, it was very long. So you see, one thing on one side, we are saying people loved something. However, it was very long. The opposite idea. But we are saying all this in one sentence using a simple word like however. Number two, I was happy to finish university, but on the other hand, I was worried about finding a job. Now imagine I say this without the connector. If I say, I was happy to finish university, I was worried about finding a job. Okay, you understand, but with connectors, this makes more sense. It makes it more understandable why I was worried. Number three, in spite of poor service, the food was really good. Now you go to a restaurant and you think that the service is not that good, but the food was amazing. You can say in spite of something, something else was good. This way you can contrast between two things in one single sentence. And the last one, we managed to finish the project even though we didn't have enough time. So we managed to do something even though the contrast, the second part, something was not in our favor. We managed to finish the project even though we didn't have enough time. And now let's talk about some other connectors in English that can be used for other purposes. Sometimes we need to give examples. In this case, you can simply use for example. But if you're trying to be more formal, you can use for instance. Let's say you make a point, you give some information, and you want to add something. In this case, you can use besides. Number three, let's say you're trying to show purpose of doing something. We can use so that in this situation. And lastly, in the same way. If you're trying to show similarity, you can use in the same way in your sentences. Let's find out how they look like in sentences. Number 1, you can have more protein. For instance, chicken, fish, protein shakes, etc. I am using for instance here to give example and sound more formal while doing that. Number 2, you can subscribe to Platzi. Besides, you can also share your subscription with your friend. Now, I'm giving you some information in the first part of the sentence, and then I'm adding more information using besides. Let's see number 3. You can practice before your interview so that you feel more confident. With this, I'm showing purpose. Why do you need to practice before your interview? So that you feel more confident. And lastly, you can use connectors in the same way I showed you. I'm showing similarity. I'm telling you, you can now do this in the same way that I showed you in this class. Now, you know all about these connectors and how to use them. It's time to know and learn more vocabulary and expression. In this course, I talk about specific vocabulary and expressions when it comes to contexts like the internet, technology, law, fashion, etc. So, I urge you to take this course, find out more about this course. I'm going to leave you a link in the description of this video. The link is platzi.com/avanzado vocabulario. I'll see you on the course, and until next time, never stop learning.